How could I have foreseen that this singular moment would unravel the very fabric of my existence? It was an ordinary day, or so I thought, until I stepped into that room, where shadows danced and secrets whispered in the air. As my gaze fell upon the door, ajar and beckoning, an unsettling tremor coursed through me, igniting a primal instinct that whispered of danger lurking just beyond the threshold. In that moment, I stood at a crossroads, the weight of my decision pressing down like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. I could have turned back, let the shadows swallow me whole, and ignored the haunting call that beckoned from the darkness. But I refrained, for in that fleeting instant of revelation, a chilling truth gripped me: nothing would ever return to the way it once was. Indeed, the weight of my actions bears down on me, for I was the architect of this chaos, the instigator who ignited the flames and failed to extinguish them. The shadows of my choices loom large, and the consequences are inescapable. Bernard found himself ensnared in the relentless grind of his work, the air thick with tension and unspoken secrets. The house lay shrouded in an eerie silence, yet a whisper of sound drifted down from the shadows above, sending a chill racing down my spine. In the dim light of his room, Adrian sat alone, the air thick with an unsettling silence that seemed to pulse with anticipation. Shadows danced on the walls, whispering secrets of the unknown, as he felt the weight of an unseen presence lurking just beyond the threshold. Every creak of the floorboards sent shivers down his spine, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change forever. Initially, it seemed like just another ordinary moment, unworthy of my attention. In a fleeting heartbeat, a young man stands on the precipice of his own reality, adrift in a tempest of thoughts and dreams, ensnared by the shadows of his imagination. But perhaps, just perhaps, he craved the dark, rich embrace of a coffee. A fleeting exchange of words could ignite a spark of intrigue. With each step I took up the creaking stairs, a chill ran down my spine as I strained to decipher the source of the haunting sounds echoing through the shadows. As I approached his room, a chill ran down my spine. The door stood ever so slightly ajar, beckoning me into the unknown. I inhaled sharply, poised to summon him, when suddenly my gaze fell upon Adrian. He sat on the edge of his bed, the laptop perched precariously on his lap, its bright screen illuminating his face with an eerie glow, as shadows danced around him in the dim room. His hands were in motion, a flurry of activity that drew my gaze. At first, I believed he was merely captivated by something thrilling unfolding before him. Could it be the thrilling spectacle of an action movie, where every heartbeat echoes with tension and every moment hangs in the balance? The stakes are high, and the adrenaline surges as the plot unfolds in a whirlwind of chaos and excitement. But as I took one more step, shifting my angle, a chilling wave washed over me, draining the color from my face. In that heart-stopping instant, the truth crashed down upon me like a thunderclap: Adrian's true intentions were finally laid bare. As my gaze locked onto the flickering reflection on the screen, an icy wave surged through me, sending shivers down my spine. What unfolded before me was beyond anything I could have ever anticipated. The moment I laid eyes on it, a chill ran down my spine. This was the last thing I ever wanted to confront. Adrian's heart raced as he fumbled with the controls, a cold sweat breaking out on his brow. The sound blared ominously, echoing through the room, and he desperately fought to silence it, his fingers trembling as they danced over the keys. Yet, the moment had slipped away, irrevocably lost in the shadows of time. The moment had already unfolded, a pivotal instant that would forever alter the course of fate. As our gazes locked, a fiery crimson washed over his face, the weight of his shame hanging heavily in the air, palpable and undeniable. I'm sorry," he stammered, his gaze darting away as if the weight of his words could shatter the very air around them. A chilling sensation gripped me, rendering me immobile, as if time itself had come to a standstill. I stand at the precipice, heart racing, as shadows loom around me. The air is thick with tension, each breath a reminder of the uncertainty that lies ahead. What awaits in the darkness? A choice must be made, and the weight of it presses down like a heavy shroud. Time slips away, and the silence is deafening, echoing the turmoil within. Will I step forward into the unknown, or retreat into the safety of the familiar? The moment hangs in the balance, and I can feel the pulse of fate quickening, urging me to decide. The stakes have never been higher, and the outcome remains shrouded in mystery. My destiny awaits, but at what cost? In the shadows of uncertainty, a single word hangs in the air, heavy with unspoken thoughts. The silence stretches, taut like a bowstring, as anticipation builds. What lies beneath that hesitant utterance? A storm of emotions brews, ready to erupt at any moment. The tension is palpable, and the world holds its breath, waiting for the next revelation. The door loomed before me, an ominous barrier between the known and the unknown, its presence heavy with unspoken secrets. What lay beyond? My heart raced as I reached for the handle, the air thick with anticipation. Would it reveal salvation or plunge me into darkness? The moment hung in the balance, a breath away from revelation. As I began to speak, a chilling uncertainty gripped me, leaving me utterly lost in the labyrinth of my own thoughts, unsure of the words that hung precariously on the edge of my lips. A peculiar warmth coursed through my veins, igniting a fire that both thrilled and terrified me. Shame washed over me like a tidal wave, yet beneath the surface, my mind churned with a tempest of thoughts, elusive and maddening, slipping through my fingers like sand. I burst from the room, my heart racing wildly, each beat echoing like a drum in the silence that surrounded me. With trembling hands, I pressed my palms against my face, desperately fighting to regain control of my breath as the weight of the moment bore down on me. What in the world was that? Text I uttered a soft, trembling confession to the shadows that surrounded me. What had I just unleashed upon the world? Why had I been so recklessly oblivious? Yet, could it be that I alone bear the weight of this blame? Enough, Vivian, I commanded myself with a fierce intensity. Yet, the turmoil raging within me was ignited by forces far beyond the mere sights that had crossed my path. Adrian stood at the precipice of his 25 year, the weight of his youth slipping away like sand through his fingers. He was no longer the innocent child of yesterday, a storm brewed within him, ready to unleash the truths he had long buried. Yet, at the age of 50, I stood as a woman marked by the shadows of my past, each moment steeped in a haunting shame that clung to me like a specter. Never had I found myself ensnared in such a web of uncertainty, yet the cold grip of shame was all too familiar, wrapping around my heart like a vice, tightening with every breath I took. I stood paralyzed in the dimly lit hallway, my heart pounding like a war drum, echoing the tension that hung thick in the air. With trembling hands, I raked my fingers through my hair, desperately seeking to regain my composure amidst the chaos swirling around me. As Adrian emerged from the shadows of the doorway, a palpable tension hung in the air. He meticulously adjusted the collar of his shirt, a subtle gesture that belied the storm brewing within. Clearing his throat, he cast his gaze downward, avoiding the piercing eyes that awaited him, as if the weight of unspoken words threatened to shatter the fragile silence. Vivian, the name echoed in the shadows, a whisper that sent chills down the spine. What secrets lay hidden behind those syllables? The air thickened with anticipation, as if the very walls held their breath, waiting for the next move in this unfolding tale. What fate awaited her? Only time would reveal the truth lurking in the darkness. In the shadow of uncertainty, I find myself hesitating, grappling with the weight of unspoken words. The air thickens with anticipation as I search for the courage to reveal what lies beneath the surface. What will unfold if I dare to continue? Forgive me. I believed I had sealed the door, he confessed, his voice trembling with uncertainty yet laced with an undeniable sincerity. I swiftly averted my gaze, a shiver coursing through me as I shook my head, the weight of unspoken truths hanging heavily in the air. Wait, I can't, no, this can't be happening. In truth, the weight of remorse rests heavily upon my shoulders, and it is I who must extend the olive branch of apology. Panic surged through me as I realized my mistake. I should have knocked before coming in, I blurted out, my voice trembling, the weight of the moment pressing down like a heavy fog. What else could I possibly say in this charged silence? The air hung heavy with an oppressive silence, a stillness that seemed to stretch on forever, as if the world itself was holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable storm to break. Yet, this silence was unlike any other. For years, we had shared the same walls, the same rooms, yet in that moment, as our eyes locked, an unspoken tension crackled between us, igniting a fire of uncertainty and revelation that neither of us could ignore. It was the first time an electric tension crackled in the air between us, a palpable force that threatened to unravel everything we thought we knew. With a sense of urgency gripping me, I declared my intention to descend the stairs and begin the preparations for dinner, my body pivoting swiftly toward the looming staircase. My voice quivered on the edge of breaking, a fragile thread desperately clinging to composure. Adrian remained silent, his gaze locked onto me, a storm of thoughts swirling behind his eyes, as if he were desperately trying to unravel a mystery that hung thick in the air. Before the storm of events unfolded between Adrian and me, I urge you to subscribe to my channel, activate those notifications, and immerse yourself in this tale until the very last word. I assure you, a thrilling storm is about to unfold. It was a silence thick with unspoken tension, stretching endlessly until that fateful evening when everything changed. The air crackled with anticipation, as if the very walls held their breath, waiting for the moment to shatter the stillness between us. Silence enveloped the air, thick and suffocating. No texts pierced the stillness, no eyes dared to meet, and even the faintest whisper of small talk was swallowed by an unsettling void. Yet, in that haunting silence, a chilling realization took hold: nothing would ever return to its former state. As the candles flickered, casting shadows that danced ominously around the room, we found ourselves at the same table, yet an invisible barrier held our gazes captive, forcing us to avert our eyes from one another. The air was thick with unspoken words, each moment stretching into eternity, laden with tension and unrelenting silence. The only sound that pierced the heavy silence was the haunting clink of silverware against our plates, echoing like a distant warning in the stillness of the room. The air was thick with unspoken words, a palpable tension hanging between us. We both felt it, an urgent need to confront the silence that loomed like a storm on the horizon. It was time to break the dam and let the flood of truth wash over us. But how could it possibly be? The question lingered in the air, heavy with uncertainty, as shadows danced around the edges of understanding. As the night slipped away into the shadows, the dawn broke, only to be followed by another day, and then yet another, each moment heavy with unspoken tension. All appeared to be as it should, yet beneath the surface, a chilling truth lurked, waiting to be unveiled. The silence hung heavily in the air, thickening the invisible tension that crackled between us, each heartbeat echoing the unspoken words that threatened to shatter the stillness. And then, on that fateful afternoon, Adrian took a seat beside me, the air thick with unspoken tension. The flicker of uncertainty danced in his eyes, yet beneath it all, a fierce determination simmered, revealing his desperate desire to mend what was broken. "Vivian, we need to talk about what happened the other day." A wave of humiliation crashes over me, leaving me exposed and vulnerable in the shadows of my own thoughts. Regret clings to my words like a shadow, haunting me with the weight of what has transpired. I never wished for this outcome, never imagined it would spiral into chaos. Yet here we stand, on the precipice of despair, and I am left to grapple with the consequences of my choices. "Please, I can't let this destroy what we have," he pleaded, his voice trembling with a mix of anxiety and earnestness. I inhaled sharply, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. In the midst of the swirling chaos, an unsettling tension hung in the air. I had to find a way to calm him, to soothe the storm brewing within him, no matter how bizarre and unforeseen the circumstances had become. A sly smile crept across my lips as I shrugged, the weight of countless mortifying moments hanging in the air. "Oh, Adrian," I said, my voice laced with intrigue, "believe me, I've endured my fair share of humiliations over the years." In that fleeting instant, I unveiled a handful of those moments to him, each one heavy with unspoken truths and lingering shadows. His smile wavered, a flicker of vulnerability crossing his face as he nodded, the weight of his embarrassment slowly lifting, but the tension in the air remained palpable. In that fleeting instant, it felt as though the heavy shroud of tension that had enveloped us began to dissolve, leaving an electrifying silence in its wake. Yet, buried within the shadows of my mind, an undeniable truth lingered, waiting to be unearthed. Time hung in the air, thick with anticipation, as if the very fabric of reality held its breath. Nothing had truly passed, yet the weight of unspoken moments loomed ominously, ready to unravel at any second. Though the world around us appeared to be healing, this conversation shattered the fragile barriers that once defined our connection, leaving us exposed and vulnerable in its wake. And I could feel it, an electric charge in the air, a whisper of something lurking just beyond the shadows, waiting to reveal itself. The tension hung in the air, thick and palpable, as the moment approached, a turning point that would plunge everything into the unknown. Adrian released a soft, almost haunting chuckle, his eyes drifting down to the table as if it held secrets too heavy to bear. "Text, I suppose we stand on equal ground now," he murmured, a shadow of tension hanging in the air. A shadow crossed my face as I turned to him, my brow furrowing with unspoken tension. "What are you trying to say?" "Text," I inquired, a shiver of intrigue lacing my words. In an instant, his expression morphed, a flicker of horror crossing his face as the weight of his words crashed down upon him. Something irrevocable had slipped from his lips. He rubbed the back of his neck, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face as he hesitated, the weight of the moment pressing down on him like a storm about to break. Yet, the moment had come, he had already begun his perilous journey. And now, he found himself cornered, with no choice but to press on into the unknown. With a heavy heart, he inhaled sharply, his gaze drifting into the shadows as he whispered, "I've seen you." In the very same manner. Little did you realize, lurking in the shadows, was a truth so profound that it could shatter everything you thought you understood. A jolt of raw energy surged through me, igniting every nerve ending in a wild frenzy. Time stood still as I felt a chill run down my spine. "What is happening?" I whispered, my voice trembling, as the crushing weight of his words bore down upon me, suffocating and relentless. Adrian's face burned with a fierce intensity, yet he pressed on, undeterred by the rising tide of uncertainty that threatened to engulf him. The secret lingered in the shadows, unspoken and heavy, a weight that pressed against my chest. "I never told you," and now, the silence echoes with the haunting possibility of what could have been revealed. Shame gripped me, a suffocating weight that silenced my voice and froze my resolve. Yet, it lingered in the shadows of my mind, an unrelenting whisper that refused to fade away. In the shadows of my mind, it lingered, my little secret, a whisper of intrigue that could unravel everything. A haunting thought that clung to my mind, refusing to be shaken loose. My heart raced with an intensity that felt almost primal. A peculiar warmth coursed through my veins, igniting a fire that whispered secrets of the unknown. A chilling whisper of an unfamiliar sensation gripped me, a harbinger of change lurking just beyond the shadows. Adrian's words hung in the air like a dark omen, a confession that threatened to unravel everything. They obliterated every barrier that once stood between us, leaving nothing but chaos in their wake. My gaze locked onto him, a silent tension hanging in the air, thick and palpable. His gaze pierced through the shadows, locking onto mine with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. At this moment, an unspoken tension hung in the air, thick and palpable, as we both realized that what lay before us was far from an ordinary exchange. The air in the room grew heavy, a palpable tension enveloping the space as everything around them twisted into uncertainty. From that fateful day onward, the world as we knew it was irrevocably transformed. There had always been an insurmountable chasm between us, a haunting void that echoed with unspoken words and lingering glances. The unseen barrier that loomed between us, a haunting divide that whispered of longing and despair. But now, it seemed as though that boundary had dissolved into thin air, leaving nothing but uncertainty in its wake. Unbeknownst to me, I found myself drawn deeper into the web of time spent with Adrian, each moment thickening the air with unspoken tension. Fleeting instances, shrouded in mystery. Conversations that appear trivial, yet hold the weight of untold secrets, linger in the shadows, waiting for the moment to unravel their true significance. Yet, in truth, every moment only intensified the simmering discord that lay between us. In the dim glow of the screen, we found ourselves entwined in a world of shadows and flickering light, our hearts racing as the stories unfolded before us, each moment thick with unspoken tension. In the shadows of our past, we maintained a careful distance, a fragile barrier that kept the darkness at bay. Yet, an undeniable tension crackled in the air, a magnetic force drawing us closer, whispering secrets that dared not be spoken. A tension hung between us, palpable yet unspoken, a secret we both sensed but dared not confront. In those fleeting moments when Adrian's arm lay casually on the couch, and my hand dared to graze his leg, a shiver coursed through me, igniting a tempest of emotions. Our laughter, a haunting melody, wove together in the air, and with it came an unsettling sensation, a whisper of something profound stirring deep within my soul. Yet, I fought against the relentless tide of thoughts that threatened to engulf me. On a haunting night, sleep eluded me, wrapping the darkness around me like a shroud of uncertainty. The sheets twisted around me like a restless serpent, as I fought against the shadows that danced in the corners of my mind. Yet, the turmoil within me clawed at my very soul, refusing to grant me a moment's peace. Only a singular thought consumed me, a relentless whisper echoing in the shadows of my mind. Adrian, the name echoes in the shadows, a whisper that sends chills down the spine. What secrets lie behind those syllables? What fate awaits? The air thickens with tension, as the story unfolds, drawing you deeper into the unknown. This was a breaking point, a moment that could not be sustained any longer. The moment had come. I was on the precipice of a decision that would change everything. A boundary had to be drawn, a line in the sand that could not be crossed. The air crackled with tension as I prepared to stake my claim, knowing that the consequences could be dire. The weight of unspoken emotions hung heavily in the air, a tension that crackled like electricity. I knew I had to confront the truth, to lay bare my heart and sever the threads of uncertainty that bound us. It was now or never. I had to speak the words that could change everything, to put an end to this dangerous game of silence. With that haunting thought echoing in my mind, I rose from the depths of my bed, the shadows around me thickening as I stepped into the unknown. My heart raced wildly, each beat echoing like a thunderous drum in the silence of the night. Yet, against my will, my feet carried me to the threshold of Adrian's room, where shadows danced and secrets whispered in the darkness. The door stood ajar, a silent invitation to the unknown lurking within. In the shadows, the dim light flickered, casting eerie shapes that danced across the walls of the room, hinting at secrets long buried and mysteries waiting to be unveiled. As I crossed the threshold, my heart raced at the sight of him lurking in the shadows. He lay in a deep slumber, oblivious to the world around him, as shadows danced menacingly at the edges of his dreams. Yet, in that fleeting instant, my gaze was drawn elsewhere, as if the very air crackled with unspoken tension. They were captivated by a force beyond comprehension. Something looms on the horizon, vast and foreboding. My breath hitched in my throat. My body seized, caught in a moment of paralyzing stillness. Witnessing him in that state unleashed a tempest within me, a whirlwind of emotions threatening to consume everything in its path. I never should have laid my eyes upon it. A chilling realization gripped me. I should have turned around immediately. Yet, I chose not to. I lingered in that moment, grappling with the tumult of emotions swirling within me, each one more intense than the last. In that fleeting moment, I recoiled with urgency, my heart racing as the shadows loomed closer. A tempest brewed within me, a force so powerful that it clawed at the edges of my consciousness, demanding to be unleashed. Yet, I stood resolute, forcing myself to turn away from its haunting call. I stepped into my room, the door creaking ominously behind me, and collapsed onto the bed, the weight of the world pressing down as shadows danced around me. Yet, everything had irrevocably changed. Little did I know, as darkness enveloped the world outside, that the events of that night would spiral into a web of unforeseen complexities. No matter how hard I fought against it, the magnetic pull of my connection with Adrian became an inescapable force, drawing me deeper into a web of emotions I never anticipated. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the lines that once defined reality began to dissolve, leaving only an unsettling haze of uncertainty in their wake. Yet, the magnetic force binding us grew ever more intense, an undeniable tension crackling in the air, threatening to unravel everything we thought we knew. It struck me like a bolt from the blue. I was utterly unprepared for how deep I had fallen into this abyss. Yet, deep within the shadows of my mind, a chilling realization took hold. Retreat was slipping through my fingers, an elusive specter fading into the abyss. And then, like a shadow emerging from the depths of night, Adrian returned home, shrouded in an unsettling aura. He staggered through the shadows, the intoxicating haze clouding his judgment, each step a precarious dance on the edge of oblivion. The ominous creak of the door echoed through the silence, a sound that sent shivers down the spine and set the heart racing with anticipation. What lay beyond that threshold? The air thickened with tension, each moment stretching into eternity as the door loomed, a gateway to the unknown. The objects he sent crashing to the ground, each one a silent witness to the chaos unfolding around him. The echoes of the night hung heavy in the air, a cacophony that could have stirred Bernard from his slumber, pulling him into a world where shadows danced and secrets whispered. Yet, deep down, I understood the monumental struggle that awaited Bernard each morning as he fought against the relentless grip of slumber. With a racing heart, I burst from my room, urgency propelling me toward Adrian, the air thick with unspoken tension. Before I could even gather myself, I found myself standing perilously close to him, my clothes still in disarray, the tension thick in the air. Adrian's gaze wavered, a storm of uncertainty swirling behind his slightly unfocused eyes. And a ghost of a smile flickered across his lips, hinting at secrets untold. "Vivian, are you truly here, or is this just a figment of my imagination?" His words slipped from his lips, barely audible, shrouded in an unsettling silence that hung in the air like a thick fog, leaving an ominous tension in its wake. His words, thick with the weight of alcohol, dripped with a sincerity that cut through the haze, leaving an unsettling tension in the air. With a heart pounding in my chest, I inhaled sharply and seized his arm, the weight of the moment hanging heavy in the air. "Adrian, you must hurry. To ascend those stairs in this state is unthinkable. Silence is our only ally now." Yet, Adrian's gaze was fiercely fixed upon my face, as if searching for the very essence of my soul. His smile was a whisper in the shadows, a fleeting glimmer that hinted at secrets untold. His gaze lingered, a slow, deliberate sweep that sent shivers down my spine. "Text, your beauty is truly captivating, a force that draws the eye and stirs the soul. Have you always been shrouded in this enigma? Or had I simply been blind to the truth all along?" Time stood still as I felt the chill of uncertainty grip me. But in an instant, I summoned every ounce of strength within me to regain my composure. "Adrian, this has gone on long enough. Step into the kitchen, where shadows linger and secrets await." As the shadows lengthened and the air grew thick with anticipation, I turned to you, my voice barely a whisper, "Let me brew you a cup of coffee." The promise of warmth hung between us, a fleeting moment before the storm. With each cautious step, I guided him toward the kitchen, the air thick with unspoken tension. I was desperately attempting to pull him back from the edge of oblivion, yet, under the weight of Adrian's piercing gaze and the haunting words he spoke, a tempest began to stir within me, unraveling the very fabric of my being. Adrian sank into the chair, a shadow of tension hanging in the air as I busied myself with the coffee, each movement charged with an unspoken anticipation. In an instant, the cup betrayed him, slipping from his grasp and cascading its contents across the counter in a chaotic splash. Ah, Adrian, the name hangs in the air, thick with unspoken secrets and the weight of untold stories. What shadows lurk behind those eyes? What fate awaits? The tension crackles, and the world holds its breath, waiting for the next move in this unfolding drama. Every step you take could lead to unforeseen consequences. Tread lightly, for danger lurks in the shadows, waiting for the slightest misstep. I whispered urgently, my heart racing as I scrambled to erase the chaos that threatened to consume me. Yet, Adrian's smile lingered, a soft curve that concealed untold secrets beneath its surface. "Have you always possessed this enchanting sweetness?" With a racing heart, I dashed through the kitchen, frantically tidying up as shadows loomed and time slipped away. The weight of the moment pressed down on us, a palpable tension in the air. We had to leave, and we had to leave now. Time was slipping away, and the shadows were closing in around us. There was no choice but to escape this place, before it consumed us whole. Bernard lay in a restless slumber upstairs, the weight of silence pressing down like a heavy shroud. Yet, with Adrian teetering on the edge of chaos, every creak of the floorboards felt like a thunderclap in the stillness. He knew he couldn't afford to disturb the fragile balance that hung in the air, the tension thick enough to slice through. "Very well. We are ascending the staircase, each step echoing with an unsettling anticipation. But hush now, for the shadows are listening." "Text," I warned him, my voice low and urgent, as I slipped my arm around his, pulling him toward the ominous staircase that loomed ahead. As we stepped into his room, a chilling sense of unease washed over us. His movements were increasingly erratic, each step a precarious dance on the edge of uncertainty. He stood there, the weight of his decision pressing down on him like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. The fabric clung to him, a reminder of the chaos he had just escaped. It was time to shed the remnants of his past and step into the unknown, but would he find redemption or face the darkness that awaited him? Yet, he was ensnared in a haze, too lost in the shadows to find his own way out. In that moment, a chilling doubt gripped my heart, urging me to retreat into the shadows of safety. But as I watched him grapple with the fabric, desperation etched across his face, an undeniable urge surged within me to intervene, to lend my hand in his moment of need. As my fingers inched toward the buttons of his shirt, a heavy silence enveloped us, and Adrian's breathing slowed, each exhale a whisper of tension hanging in the air. In that fleeting instant, an electric tension crackled between us, thickening the very air we breathed. The silence hung heavy in the air, thick with an unspoken tension that electrified the atmosphere. In that moment, clarity and confusion danced a perilous waltz within me. I was acutely aware of my actions, yet an unsettling fog clouded my understanding, leaving me teetering on the edge of revelation and oblivion. Adrian's gaze pierced through me, a storm of unspoken thoughts swirling in his eyes. And this was one of those pivotal moments, where the air crackled with tension and the weight of uncertainty loomed large. It was a moment suspended in time, a fleeting heartbeat that slipped through our fingers, forever lost to the shadows of what could have been. Adrian stood frozen, the fabric of his clothes heavy in his hands, as uncertainty gripped him like a vice. His hands dropped to his sides, a silent surrender, as his gaze pierced through the air, locking onto mine with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. In that moment, a chilling awareness washed over me. I could feel my breath coming in rapid, frantic gasps. The silence enveloped the room like a thick fog, each breath a struggle against the oppressive weight of the atmosphere, as if the very air conspired to stifle any sound, any movement. "I'm done with this game, Vivian," he declared, his voice a whisper that crackled with an undeniable intensity, a storm brewing beneath the surface. My gaze locked onto him, unyielding and intense, as if the very air around us crackled with unspoken tension. My heart thundered in my chest. But what was Adrian truly trying to convey? "Are you?" he added, his voice thickening with an intensity that sent a shiver down the spine. Was that fleeting moment all we would ever share, a single glance that ignited a spark, only to be extinguished before it could truly blaze? Text: do you truly not ponder it, even for a fleeting moment? Text: as the darkness envelopes you, a haunting thought lingers at the edge of your consciousness, creeping in just before you surrender to slumber. A chilling wave coursed through my body, compelling me to retreat, yet my feet remained anchored to the ground, as if bound by an unseen force. "Adrian, this can't be happening," I whispered, my voice quaking with uncertainty. Adrian's lips curled into a subtle smile, yet there was nothing innocent about it, a shadow of something darker lingered in his eyes. "We crossed the threshold of choice long ago, Vivian, and now we stand on the precipice of consequence. Cease the deception that binds you in shadows." With each step he took, the air thickened, a palpable tension crackling around him. One foot followed the other, drawing him deeper into the unknown, where shadows danced and secrets whispered just out of reach. He was so close now that I could feel the heat of his breath whispering against my skin, sending shivers down my spine. He reached up, his fingers brushing against my cheek with a tantalizing softness that sent shivers down my spine. My heart raced as I fought the urge to turn away, yet an undeniable truth gripped me: he was right, and I could no longer deny it. In that electrifying moment, Adrian's lips brushed against mine, igniting a spark that sent shivers down my spine. The air hung heavy with silence, each heartbeat echoing the tension that crackled like electricity, poised on the brink of something unimaginable. In that fleeting instant, the key to all existence lay shrouded in mystery, waiting to be unveiled. The cacophony of thoughts that once consumed me fell into an eerie silence, as if the very air had thickened with tension, and my doubts dissolved into mere shadows, barely audible in the stillness. Because I had succumbed to Adrian's allure. Yet, deep within the shadows of my heart, the undeniable truth lingered: I had never desired it. My hands quaked with an intensity that threatened to betray me, yet I stood my ground, refusing to retreat. As I locked eyes with Adrian, a chilling realization washed over me. There was no longer any sanctuary for secrets, only the raw intensity of his unwavering resolve. With a heart pounding in my chest, I swallowed hard, drawing in a deep breath as I cautiously let the straps of my clothing slip from my shoulders, each movement heavy with anticipation. "You're right, Adrian," I murmured, my voice trembling like a fragile leaf caught in a tempest. "The time for games has come to an end. No more pretending, no more charades. The truth looms heavy in the air, and it demands to be faced." As the final barrier vanished, I surrendered to the bed, my heart racing with anticipation. My heart raced wildly, each beat echoing in the silence, but retreat was a luxury I could no longer afford. Adrian's figure loomed closer, a shadow eclipsing the light, as he leaned over me with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. He locked his gaze onto mine, a fleeting moment stretching into eternity, before a smile crept across his lips, sending shivers down my spine. "Do not fear," he whispered, his voice a soothing balm amidst the storm, yet a flicker of uncertainty danced in the shadows of his words. "All seems perfect, yet an unsettling whisper lingers in the shadows, hinting that beneath the surface, something is amiss." I averted my gaze, a chilling tremor coursing through my very being. The truth loomed in the shadows of my mind, a truth I dared not confront. Yet, deep within, the weight of anticipation pressed heavily upon my chest, reminding me of the countless days and nights I had spent yearning for this very moment to arrive. Yet, despite my desperate attempts to hold them back, the words erupted from my lips, unbidden and unstoppable. "Adrian," a shiver of fear coursed through me, my breath hitching as I spoke, haunted by the weight of a few monumental truths. "Adrian," a chill ran down my spine as I spoke, my breath hitching in my throat, haunted by the weight of a few monumental shadows looming over me. Adrian's smile lingered, a mask of indifference that sent a shiver down my spine. He brushed aside my words, as if they were nothing more than a fleeting whisper in the dark, leaving me to wonder what secrets lay behind that enigmatic grin. Perhaps it was the intoxicating haze that clouded his judgment. Adrian's breath was a whisper against my ear, a chilling urgency lacing his words. "Bernard mustn't wake up." The weight of his warning hung in the air, thick with unspoken dread. The weight of his words hung in the air, thick and suffocating. As I grasped the gravity of his meaning, silence was not just an absence of sound, it was a necessity, a haunting void that demanded to be filled with unspoken truths. A tempest brewed within me, a force so immense that I struggled to contain it. The urge to unleash a deafening cry clawed at my throat, threatening to break free at any moment. Adrian's gaze pierced through the dim light, a knowing glint in his eyes as he uttered those fateful words, "I know." The air thickened with unspoken truths, and the weight of his revelation hung heavily between us, a silent storm brewing in the shadows. "Vivian, the world around us is ablaze with brilliance, and you, too, shine with an intensity that captivates the very air we breathe." What secrets lay hidden within his mind? A chilling realization washed over me. He had seen through the facade, piercing the veil of my carefully constructed defenses. He understood me, and in that moment, the air thickened with unspoken tension. A surge of temptation washed over me, and in a moment of weakness, I surrendered to the darkness, my eyes fluttering shut as uncertainty loomed around me. My fingers clenched the sheets with a desperate grip, my body quaking and convulsing as if caught in the throes of an unseen terror. My hands flew to my mouth, stifling the gasp that threatened to escape, as the tension in the air thickened around me. Adrian stumbled through the dimly lit room, the world around him blurring into a haze of shadows and whispers. In that intoxicating fog, he felt untouchable, a reckless abandon coursing through his veins, drowning out every worry, every fear. Nothing mattered anymore, he was lost in the chaos of his own making, teetering on the edge of oblivion. In truth, this was weighing heavily on my soul, its grip tightening with every passing moment. The thrill of the event intertwined with the weight of everything else, creating an atmosphere thick with anticipation and unspoken tension. And the undeniable sensation of an impending storm, looming just beyond the horizon. Adrian staggered through the dimly lit streets, the weight of exhaustion pressing down on him like a suffocating shroud. Each labored breath felt like a desperate gasp for life, while the intoxicating haze clouded his mind, blurring the line between reality and nightmare. "Adrian, you're turning crimson." We must move, now. Adrian's voice trembled as he uttered a single word, okay. The air thickened with unspoken tension, and the weight of his agreement hung heavily in the silence that followed. With a heavy breath, he uttered the words, okay. Yet, he pressed on, unwavering, down the path that beckoned him with an ominous allure. And then it came, an unrelenting tide, swelling and surging, an endless cascade that threatened to consume everything in its path. Another wave of agony surged through me, and in that moment, all else faded into oblivion. I had become a mere shadow of who I once was, lost in a labyrinth of my own making. I shut my eyes, surrendering to the darkness, and whispered, "Whatever you desire, Adrian." The weight of my words hung in the air, thick with unspoken tension. "Anything your heart desires." Adrian surrendered to the moment, a flicker of something wild igniting within him, as if the very essence of his being had been unleashed. He released his grip entirely, surrendering to the unknown that awaited him. And that was the breaking point. The fire within me raged, an insatiable inferno threatening to consume everything in its path. With a swift motion, I gently placed Adrian in his bed, the weight of the world pressing down as I pulled the covers over him, shrouding him in a fragile cocoon of safety. With a swift motion, I turned the key and sealed his bedroom door, the finality of the click echoing in the stillness, a barrier between us that would change everything. As I stepped into the bathroom, a sense of anticipation washed over me. The door clicked shut behind me, sealing off the world outside. I craved the soothing cascade of water, a moment of tranquility amidst the chaos. But little did I know, this was no ordinary shower, it was the calm before an unexpected storm. Little did I know, a storm was brewing just beyond the horizon, ready to unleash its fury and change everything in an instant. What had just transpired? As the water cascaded down, I found myself lost in thought, yet an unsettling tension gripped my chest, leaving me on edge, teetering between clarity and chaos. And yet, as I emerged from the shadows, a newfound clarity enveloped my mind, sharp and piercing like a blade in the dark. Strangely, an unsettling calm washed over me, as if the storm brewing within was momentarily silenced, leaving me teetering on the edge of something unknown. Anguish clawed up my insides, yet I found no room for anger towards myself. As I sank deeper into the moment, an overwhelming sense of tranquility enveloped me, my body surrendering to the calm while my mind danced in a serene embrace. In the heavy stillness of the room, I slipped into my clothes, each movement deliberate and shrouded in an unsettling quiet. I approached my bed, the weight of the day pressing down on me, and surrendered to the darkness, closing my eyes as if to erase the haunting echoes of what had transpired. Yet, beneath the surface, this was merely a fleeting spark, a surge of wild longing that threatened to consume everything in its path. Yet, the truth loomed like a shadow, whispering that nothing was ever as straightforward as it seemed. And this? What secrets lie beneath the surface, waiting to be unveiled? The air thickens with anticipation, as the truth hangs precariously in the balance. This was destined to spiral into chaos. The darkness loomed larger, and the chilling truth was far from over. It was impossible. Something monumental was on the horizon. Unleash the storm of intensity. And in the end, Bernard would uncover the truth, a revelation that would shatter the very fabric of his existence. The tale has only just begun, and the shadows whisper of what lies ahead. Ensure you follow and subscribe, for the next chapter of this unfolding tale is one you won't want to miss. Activate those notifications and share your thoughts in the comments below. It propels you into the shadows, ensuring you remain one heartbeat ahead in the unfolding drama of these tales. Your unwavering support is the lifeline that keeps hope alive. And if you've journeyed this far, I extend my deepest gratitude for your unwavering attention.